We go. All right. Welcome, everyone. We're going to be talking about the state of construction in 2023. And so in this next 45 minutes or so, it's an opportunity for all of you to rise above the current circumstances that you're in and focus on how you're going to perform at a high level in 2023. First thing I want to say is thank you for purchasing the book, Construction Genius. And they've been flying off the shelf. Hundreds of copies have been sold, and I'm super thankful for that. I really appreciate you investing your money in purchasing the book, and I hope that you're finding it to be helpful. And so right now, it's really interesting the time that we're in. We just want to dive right in. So, you know, this is typical of economics, of economic cycles. There's a boom, there's a bust, there's a boom. Type into the box for me real quick. Where do you think we're at in the boom bust boom cycle at the moment? If anyone has there's a chat box that you can use. If anyone has a thought on that, just share that with me. In the boom bust boom cycle, where do you think we are? Just chat that into the box for me, please. Give me a little bit of feedback here. Right out of the gate, just so you guys know, I'm super interactive with these webinars. So participation is definitely appreciated. Where do you think we are? Boom, bust, boom. How does it feel to you as you're looking at the industry at the moment? Just chat that into the box. Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of people are kind of on the edge of a little bit of a bust, a little bit of a recession. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few months. So as you look back at 2022, what I'd like you to do is to think about what is your biggest win and then the biggest challenge that you've had in 2022. So think about that for a moment. And if anyone wants to share that, just chat that into the box as well. What has been your biggest win and your biggest challenge in 2022? For a lot of people, the biggest win has been continuing to build. I know a lot of construction companies, a lot of my clients are continuing to be busy. The biggest challenge for many people often is again, finding skilled labor in the field. And for some people, their backlogs are beginning to contract a little bit, and that's beginning to make them feel a little bit nervous. So think about that for yourself. What is your biggest win? And then what is your biggest challenge? Those are things that you've got to be thinking about as you're looking back. And the reason why you want to take a look back at the past year is because it can help to inform what you're going to be doing moving forward. Because we know that the future is unknown. And people are in the business of kind of looking at that and thinking about that. But the future is unknown. Okay, Bakul, you're telling me that the chat is disabled. Okay, so we can go into the questions and answers then. Sorry about that, guys. How is the chat disabled? That's interesting. Okay. I won't mess around with that. You guys can just use the questions and the answers. So thank you for letting me know that, Bakul. The future is unknown, but as we look at 2023, I want you to think about this a little bit and feel free to look forward. And as you're looking forward, what is your biggest threat? And what is your biggest opportunity? So if you want to put that into the question and answer box, I see Bakul figured it out and that's working. What is your biggest threat and your biggest opportunity? Feel free to let me know. Just put that into the question and answer box, and we'll use that as our communication tool. Biggest threat, biggest opportunity as you're looking forward to 2023. Yeah, see, that's good, Bakul. I think that's one of the keys right here as we look into 2023. What's going to happen is some companies are going to struggle if there is a significant downturn. We saw that in 2008. And I think one of the biggest opportunities that people are going to have is the loosening up, the opportunity to hire some good people from other companies, as well as the same time with a bit of a downturn happening, you can seriously begin to look at the quality of your team and those B- and C players that you've been hanging on to for a while. Maybe it's time now, because the volume may dip a little bit, to move them down the road. So there's an opportunity to bring in A players and there's an opportunity to allow some other people perhaps to leave the organization. And Bakul, you're right on there with the threat being the cost of everything. That definitely is something that a lot of people are faced with at the moment. So with that in mind, I want to take a look at some of the data that we have, and this is sourced from FMI, of the segment performance in 2022 as it compares with 2021. So you see there's three main categories here: that which has gone up, that which is stable, and that which is going down. So you see what's gone up here: single family, multifamily, some improvements, commercial manufacturing, sewage and waste disposal, water supply, conservation, and development. In comparison to 2021, in 2022, those areas have gone up 5% or more. I'm hearing from a lot of my GC clients that tenant improvements are beginning to lag a little bit, but some of the areas that are really beginning to pick up are the multifamily and some of the high-tech industry as well. Things that are stable in 2022 in comparison to 2021 is healthcare, amusement, communication, and highways. Again, we're still waiting in many segments for the release of infrastructure money. And with the midterms passed, perhaps now they'll go back to work, and there may be some release of infrastructure money in 2023, and that can have a good positive impact. As far as what's down, lodging, office, we know that office is definitely down. Educational, religious, public safety, transportation, and power. Now, I think that some of those things that are down may be up in 2023. Maybe there'll be some more federal money out there for public safety and transportation, power, and perhaps educational might be coming up as well. And I hear lodging is still doing pretty well with a bit of pent-up demand as far as the end of the pandemic is concerned. So here's a nice little snapshot of U.S. segment performance. Let's take a look at some of those material pricing. I know, Bakul, you were mentioning that earlier. And so these are the percentage changes from 2018. And you'll see, for instance, we've got the steel prices. Those are way up through the third quarter, but are beginning to dip. Mechanical prices are definitely going up. This is something that I'm hearing from my mechanical contractors, where there are delays in shipping of units that are quite significant, and that's having a tremendous impact. You see here with the lumber pricing, we all know how the lumber pricing went up during the pandemic, and it's beginning to stabilize and go down a little bit more now. Insulation has gone up and is continuing to go up. And then you have drywall going up as well. So generally speaking, obviously from 2020 through 2022, pricing has gone up. And we're still seeing rising prices in many areas, though some thankful stabilizations in other areas as well. And now here is another slide from FMI, total construction put in place, estimated for the US. This goes all the way back to 2000, which I think is really interesting. So we see the big dip here in the residential and a little bit in the commercial in 2008 through 2009 and 10. And now you can see here, man, with this green line, we were on a run here for a number of years, weren't we? And then it continued. It's interesting how it continued through COVID. And now it's peaked here. And the forecast is that we're going to get a dip here. And so that's really the reality that we're looking at as far as the smart mines are concerned. As you look into 2023, 24, and 25, you've got non-building structures continuing a steady increase. You've got residential kind of flattening out, and you've got a dip here. You've got residential going down, and then you've got a flattening out with non-residential buildings. So that what we're looking at going forward is not necessarily a massive recession, but it's definitely a drawback as far as what's being put in place. So as we look forward to 2023, again, I'm not an expert in terms of predicting the future, but I am an expert in terms of what makes a construction company successful. And I know this, in 2023, if you're going to be successful, you must be mastering the fundamentals in your construction company. You must be growing your team, and you must be improving yourself. And so those are the three things that we're going to focus on here in terms of getting you ready for 2023. So if you think about the fundamentals of a construction company, what we're looking at in terms of the fundamentals of the construction company is that, and they never really change. They never change. You've got to be able to bid work, plan work, build work, and then get paid or bill the work. Okay, so as you look at your construction company, and feel free to chat this into the question and answers, which of these 4 areas, generally speaking, are you the strongest at? Bidding work, planning work, building work, or getting paid? Just chat into the box for me. What's the one area that you feel you're the strongest at in your company? Yeah, I will be sharing the slides and a recording of the slide of the session afterwards, and another download as well, Bakul. So thank you for that. Yeah, the build. You guys are strongest in the build. Okay, that's good. That's good. And these are the fundamentals of construction, but I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into these fundamentals, and I'll share with you this construction company business model. And I think you guys will find this very, very helpful. Okay, so every company has revenue. They have the top line of money coming into the organization. And then there's costs with money going out of the organization. And between revenue and cost, there is a gap. And that gap determines your profit level. And this squiggly line here on the screen, it represents a spring. Okay. And the idea of that spring is that there are things that are causing the gap between revenue and cost to go down, or the gap to increase. And let's talk about that a little bit. If you think about your competitors, market conditions, customer budgets, all of those things can drive revenue down. They affect your top line. And then if you think about weather, regulations, customer demands, and sub prices and material prices, those can drive up your costs. And if you think about it, at the end of the day, the things that drive down your costs, like competitors, market conditions, and drive down your revenue, competitors, market conditions, and customer budgets, you don't have much control over those things. Similarly, your costs, whether it be through weather, regulations, customer demands, and material pricing, those drive up your costs, and you don't have much control over those either. The good news is there are many things that you do have control over that can affect your revenue and cost. So I want to talk about those. First thing is value engineering, then bid accuracy, customer service, market knowledge, bid strategy, and change order management. Those can drive up your revenue. And then as far as driving down your costs, there's your operating costs, quality, safety, productivity, material and sub management, and then cash flow. Those can drive down your costs. And the key for you to think about as you consider your company is the things in blue you have control over. The things in red outside of your company, you don't have as much, if any, control over. And the way you control the things in blue is through your operating systems and processes. And these are the responsibility of your leadership. So as you think of this little model right here, what I'd like you to do is just to identify one area in blue that you can improve on in 2023 in terms of your company. And you can chat that into the box for me. What's one area that you need to improve on in 2023? Just give me a little bit of feedback there. Nathan, estimating. Excellent. Bakul, cash flow. Okay. Now this is really, really important. If you can identify that you need to get better at estimating, whether it's your bid strategy, whether it's your bid accuracy, whether it's improving customer service so that you have more work to bid on, whatever the case may be, that's really, really important that you're able to identify that. And then Bakul, this idea of cash flow. Obviously, cash is the lifeblood of every organization. And one thing that I really like to emphasize with all of my clients is that if you have work in place, you have money to collect, and it's your job to be as aggressive as you need to be to get the money that you have earned so that you can maximize the cash flowing through your business. So it's very important as you think about 2023 and think about areas of improvement that you're very specific and that you're very focused and that you master the basics, because in times of recession, that's when I would say the professional construction companies really come to the fore. When there's lots of work out there, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is able to land projects and make money. But in the tough times, it's the best companies who master the fundamentals, who survive, and who thrive in the midst of challenges. So please think about those areas that you need to improve in. Okay, now, as you think about mastering the fundamentals, you then need to grow your team. And that's what I'd like to focus on here. And I want you to think about growing your team in terms of a very simple spreadsheet. And I put the spreadsheet together. I'm going to make sure that you all get a copy of this. So don't worry about, creating it yourself. I'll send it to you. And what you want to do is you want to evaluate your team, and you should be doing this on a regular basis. And you'll see how the spreadsheet works here. You've got the name of the people on your team, their position, and I've got an example here, right? So you've got Dave, Sally, John, Fred, and Mary, the various positions that they fill. And then you have an evaluation of them. You've got technical skills, people skills, their desire or their will to succeed, their potential, one area of improvement that they need to focus on. And then I really like this here. I was working with one of my clients yesterday, developing this for him and his team in 2023. And that is the one phrase that needs to be in your head when you consider your team member and what they need to do in order to improve. Okay? Now, I like to keep things as simple as possible. Construction is complicated enough without developing complicated leadership tools to help you succeed. Leadership can be tremendously simple if you focus in on the fundamentals. And so you'll notice here that with technical skills, people skills, and the will, we have a very simple plus, neutral, or minus system. So if someone's a plus, they're above the line of performance. If they're neutral, they're at the line of performance. And if they're minus, they're below the line of performance. And so you can see here, you have a guy like Dave, who's a superintendent, who has plus technical skills, but his people skills are neutral. And then his desire is neutral. But his potential, you see, is high. And so this is what you want to do with people, is you want to think about them and where they are now and where they could be in your company in terms of their skill and their will, and ask yourself, is this person high potential, medium potential, or low potential? And I know you guys will understand how this framework operates. What you're looking to do is to identify people who have high potential, but perhaps need to improve. You're looking for the people who have low potential and perhaps are below the line, and you need to seriously think about their future in your organization. One of the greatest challenges that construction companies have is not just attracting good talent to their company, but it's allowing poor performers to stay in their companies for too long. And what you need to do is be very aggressive in evaluating your team and committing to never settling. You're always looking to upgrade your team. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that you fire all the underperformers tomorrow, but it does mean that if you're allowing your underperformers to stay in your company week after week, month after month, year after year, then don't be surprised if you experience high levels of frustration and low levels of profit when it comes to the projects that you are building. So you notice here the one area of improvement with Dave, and again, this is just an example, he needs to improve in his pre-planning. Sally needs to improve with communication with her team. John needs to improve with client relationships. Fred, his work ethic needs to step up. With Mary, she needs to build per contract. Okay, now it's very important that you're able to identify that one area of improvement. And then what you want to do is you want to develop one phrase for that person that sticks in your head. And you don't even necessarily need to communicate it to them, but it's in your head. And it's the one phrase that for the next 90, 120 days, perhaps the whole of 2023, is going to drive the way you interact with that person. So for Dave, it's delegate effectively. For Sally, be self-reliant. For John, confidence is the key for him. For Fred, he's got to earn his spot. And then for Mary, assert yourself. Think about how you can develop your team by first evaluating them, then identifying one area that they can improve, and finally coming up with one phrase for each person that will help them and help you in terms of their, that will help you to lead them in 2023. So let's just do a quick little exercise here. I want you to think of one person on your team right now that reports to you. I'd like you to think of one area of improvement that they can, that they need to focus on, and then chat that one area of improvement into the question and answer box for me, please. What is that one area of improvement? Chat that in for me, please. It's very great. Excellent job. Bakul needs to be more open and flexible and change as company grows and changes. That's very good. It's excellent. It's excellent. Nathan, communication. That's really great. Really appreciate this feedback. So what I want you guys to think about then is that with that one area of improvement, what is the one phrase that can be sticking in your head and leading you as you lead that person? And you may not be able to come up with it right away, but you want to think about it. Okay, so Bakul, for instance, I would be thinking perhaps that one phrase would be more flexible, be open and flexible. And you're really leading that person to see that openness and that flexibility. Nathan, it could be as simple as improve communication. But that one phrase, or even perhaps one word, that helps you to be more effective as you lead that individual. And what I would encourage you guys to do is to be evaluating your team consistently, whether it's every 90 days, whether it's every 6 months. It should definitely not be just once a year, but really do a quick evaluation of them from their technical, from their people perspective, and also from their desire. Where do they need to improve? What can I do to help them? How can I make sure that I'm growing my team? That's one way you're going to be tremendously successful in 2023. And then as you're growing your team, I encourage you to do this. And this is why you go through an exercise like this with each person. You want to individualize your approach. Great leaders are themselves flexible in the way that they communicate and in the way that they work with the individuals on their team. They're not only individualizing their approach, but they're being as precise as possible. So Nathan, when you say communication, what you'll want to do is really think about how this person needs to improve their communication. And you could even ask yourself a question: in what specific ways can this person improve his or her communication in the next year? And try and get as precise as you can. And the same, Bakul, with you in terms of this openness and this flexibility. How can this person be more? What would it look like if I was observing this individual and I could see that they are now more open and more flexible? And the more precise you can be, the more helpful you can be in terms of leading them and helping them to develop. And then, of course, whenever you're working with people, whenever you're looking to see them grow, you want to be patient, but demanding. This is one of the keys to leadership. Right now I'm coaching an under 10 soccer team that my son is on, and no one's going pro anytime soon. The level of skill is not exactly high. And so it's a great opportunity for me to be exercising patience at all times. But I'll tell you where I'm demanding. I'm not necessarily demanding in terms of their execution of every skill, because they have a long way to go in learning their skills. I'm demanding in terms of their effort and their attitude. So as you're working with people in your organization, individualize your approach, be precise as possible, be patient, but be demanding. Okay. And then for the people that aren't a fit, you want to help them move out of your company as soon as possible. Many times when I'm working with my executive coaching clients, a CEO of a company will tell me about an ongoing issue with a senior executive in the organization. And I'll ask him, how long has this issue been going on? And it's been going on for years. And so I'll work with this person, and we'll figure out a plan for how he's going to deal with the issue with the individual in his company. And then I'll say this: if this person does not improve and they are still in your company 12 months from today, do I have your permission to yell at you? Now, I say that half jokingly, but I do say it seriously. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Like I said earlier, many construction companies struggle because they do not move out their poor performers. And if there's going to be a downturn in the market, and perhaps we need to pull back in terms of our volume, you may need to cut some overhead in your office, or perhaps even in the field with your poor performers. And this can be a tremendous opportunity for you to do that. Okay, so if someone is not a fit for your company, don't allow them to hang around. You're doing them a disservice, and you're doing your company a disservice. Okay, so mastering the fundamentals is important, growing your team, and then finally what we want to do is focus on improving yourself. Okay, now there's a quote I like from the book of Job. People are born for trouble as readily as sparks fly up from a fire. So you look at a fire and there's always sparks flying up from it. And, you know, trouble is something that always comes our way. It's just a part of the human experience. The good news is that even in the midst of trouble and the challenges, we can still be performing at a high level. And so that's why I'd like you to seriously consider using this 90-day high performance dashboard. And right now, I'm just going to walk you through it, how you can fill it out, and then I'll send it to each one of you at the end of the session here, in addition to the slides and the recording, and in addition to the spreadsheet with the that you can use for developing your team. And you can use all of these tools to help you to perform more effectively. Okay, so let me just walk you through what's in the dashboard. The first area is the rally cry. And the rally cry, what that means is, what is the one thing that you need to focus on in the next 90 days in order for you to be able to say with any credibility, I had a good first quarter of the year. Okay, you've got to think about what's that rally cry. And then when you've developed your rally cry, you must think about the top 3 initiatives that you need to focus on in order to drive the achieving of the rally cry. And then linked to those initiatives should be performance metrics. They can be number-based, they can be date-based, they can even be yes, no, but some sort of indication that the initiatives are being accomplished so that the rally cry will be achieved. Once you've identified your rally cry, your initiatives, and your metrics, you then think about your key relationships. What are the key relationships that I need to cultivate internally or externally, perhaps with a client or a project partner, perhaps internally with someone on my team, in order to drive the achieving of the rally cry? And then the last question is top development opportunities. One of the things that great leaders do is they focus on their own personal development. They're not just focused on developing others, they're focused on developing themselves. So one thing that you should be asking yourself is, what is the one area that I need to improve on next year? And how can I make some progress on that improvement in the next 90 days? So that's how you fill out a 90-day high-performance dashboard. And as you consider that, what I'd like you to do, just real quick, and you can chat the answer in if you'd like. You don't have to, but you can chat it in. What is your rally cry going to be? And I consider us here at the end of the year pretty much, right? We're almost at Thanksgiving, so there goes a week. And then we're going to get Christmas and New Year's, so there goes another couple of weeks. So I'm thinking about the first quarter of 2023. What is your rally cry? What's the one thing you need to accomplish in the first quarter of 2023 to be able to say with any credibility, I had a good quarter? And if you'd like to just chat that in for me, let me know. Just do so. Just chat that into the question and answer box. Finish off 2 projects you started 3 months ago. Excellent. That's very good. I like that one. And then delivery of scheduled projects. Nathan, excellent. That's excellent. So what you want to be thinking about then, and again, I'll send you this document so that you can work it out yourself. So what are my initiatives associated with that? What are my performance metrics? What relationships? Who are the key people that are going to help me achieve that? And then what are my development opportunities? Okay. So 2023, it's unknown what's going to happen. All we can do is make progress down the road day by day, step by step. We've got a backlog. We've got projects on the books that we need to complete. So we have an idea of what we need to do. But we know in construction that every day, every week, every month brings new challenges. Regardless of the challenges that come our way, we know that we must master the fundamentals. And we have to grow our team. And then we have to improve ourselves. Those are 3 things that we can focus on. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do in 2023. So with that being said, let me just open it up. What questions do you have of me? I know you guys have purchased the book, and I really appreciate that. In terms of the book or in terms of anything that we've shared so far here today, what questions, if any, do you have of me? Feel free to type that into the box. Excellent. As you're thinking of that, I do have a request. Oh, here we go. Bakul. They say labor shortage is not going away. Would you agree? Yes. The labor shortage is never going away. It just isn't. That's always going to be there. And so we drive as much as we can towards automation, towards using technology to overcome that. But obviously, there's challenges associated with that. In many cases, we need people and skilled people to install the work, and that is never going away. So all I can say is you must be aggressively looking to cultivate relationships with sources of labor. One long-term play that I would encourage all of you to do is to build relationships with high schools in your local areas. I know that high schools are beginning to shift from the emphasis that everyone needs to learn to code to, you know what, maybe everyone doesn't need to learn to code, and they're going back to a more vocational focus. That may take some time to really get into the mix. But what I would be doing is developing and cultivating relationships with my local high schools, my local community colleges, and universities to be sourcing talent from those areas. That's definitely something I would be doing. That's a good question. Yeah, comments on different generations in the workforce. So let me just address it in this way. Generational differences do exist, but in many cases they are overblown. The main generational differences that exist are in communication styles and methods. So, for instance, here is the cell phone, the iPhone. I was not born with an iPhone in my hand, but most of the young people who are in your company now were. And so they're extremely comfortable communicating through this tool. Now, that can be a plus, but it can also be a minus. In construction, young people need to learn that effective conversations aren't necessarily over chat or text message, but they need to be belly to belly, in person, on the job site in many cases. And so that can be generational differences that you need to overcome. One of the advantages of generational differences that I've seen over the years is that young people are more comfortable with technology and therefore can be good sources of introducing effective and meaningful technology into your organization. And so that can be something to consider. But I would encourage you not to overblow differences in generations. In my view, there are people from all generations who want to work hard, who want to succeed, and who want to do well in construction. And you want to emphasize those people and do your best to attract and develop those people. That's my perspective on different generations. That's great. And so one request I have of you guys, if you haven't already, you can see here that we have 5 ratings of the book on Amazon. And all I'm looking for is an honest rating or a review from 1 star to 5 stars. But what I'm looking for is my goal is to get at least 20 reviews, because apparently that's the sweet spot for Amazon that helps the book to be seen in many different places. And so I'm really asking for your help here. If you haven't reviewed the book already, please go out to the Amazon page and give the book a rating and a review. I would be deeply, deeply thankful for that. I'm going to make sure that everyone here gets the recording, everyone gets the 90-day dashboard and the spreadsheet that I walked you through and the slides. So everyone will get those pieces of information. And so before we end the session here today, I just want to, again, give you a big thank you for purchasing the book. It means a lot to me. Thank you for sharing it with other people. Feel free to encourage others, if you get value from the book, to purchase it and to give it to the people in their organization. All right, excellent. Thank you for joining me. Those of you who are with me, those of you who are listening to the recording, thank you for listening to the recording. And I look forward to helping you in any way that I can in the future. Have a terrific day, everyone.